Well, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I just want to start first with a little intro. So I'm Dale. I really wanted to create spaces that would keep me in integrity, really and truly. I know that my brain is really fickle and it's also super strong. And I realize how important it is to stay in community in metabolizing our stuff. And I thought that so you'll start to see that like anytime I'm feeling like a need to really plunge into something, I am like, people come with me, like come with me, come play with me. So you'll see me do fitness challenges or things like this where it helps me to stay honest. But on another front, I also realized that healing often the way that we've learned is healing happens on our own. And I realize how powerful and essential it is for us to be in communal spaces for healing and metabolizing. And so the opportunity here is for us to stay in practices that nourish us. So just like a really great feast, like good food, that these times are for nourishing our spirit and our minds and our souls and releasing things that might actually create some constriction in our bodies. And so my hope for you is that you'll also find the nourishment and that you'll also trust that you also have wisdom. And so this space is uh, to actually be in practice together. Now, here's the other kind of wider piece is, and I like to say this each time, there is a Jamaican in Jamaica, and it happens around the world in different cultures, but there is a way that women saved money, and it was called Podna, which is partner. And what it would be was, or a group of women would come together, and they would, on a monthly basis, they would have a banker, and on a monthly basis, they would all deposit into this account, and the banker would, well, account. I mean, it would be held under in a freezer or under, a chest of drawers or under a mattress or something. But it was a way of saving money because if not, then it would be taken from them. And so what I thought was really powerful about that, and I've asked my mom recently because she's been doing it she's 83, and I think she stopped maybe 10 years ago. So she's been doing it for, over 60 years. And now they deposit into banks, of course. But I was thinking about that process and when they would do that. So if there were 10 women or 12, then each month they would put in a certain amount. It was the same amount each month. So each person to put in, let's say, $100. And so they know that each month there'd be $1,200. And you might say, Diana, you might say, well, in June, I'd like to draw that $1,200. And because I am planning for a deck or something. And Kim, you might say, well, I'd like July because I'm wanting to do this. And so what would happen is there's always going to be that $1,200 at the bank. That's what would happen. And what I love about that is, help people buy homes and send their children to university and have like deal with medical emergencies and things like that. But it also created this connection with these women because they were each month putting this money together. They weren't necessarily, I mean, what my mom would do is they would actually gather in ways because, well, in Jamaica, because people would come to the house to bring the money. So there'd be some kind of tea or something like that would happen. But it made me think of here, like, what if we were to make emotional deposits on a regular basis? And instead of like hoarding our emotions, in particular difficult emotions, what if we made these deposits and that when we did that, they would grow, our bank, our capacity would grow to be able to deal with things that we didn't have to wait. We didn't have to wait to, I mean, it's okay, you go to your therapist and do counseling and work out and do all those things, so we wouldn't stop doing that. But it would mean that we're already building communities that can hold us. We don't have to wait. And I thought to start us off, though, is that if we had these topics to explore that are quite relevant for us, that actually does take us out of our humanity or out of trusting and relying on ourselves. So things like, because we personalize, we take things personally, because we let boundaries slide, because we have a hard time letting go, because forgiveness can be difficult. All of those things can build up a bank of resentment. Um, the thought that we don't have the capacity to deal with things, the thought that we can't rely on ourselves, resilience, fatigue, um, and we end up doing that on our own. I thought, well, like, what if we created that bank for ourselves we wouldn't have to go through these big dips. We were already in the practice. We would be ready in a way for when things happen. We would have a community so that we could be held in that community. So that's how this was born. It's like an emotional partner where we metabolize stuff. We get the nutrients out of what's happening, and because there's always some gift there, even when it's challenging. So I wanted you to know that's where it came from. I wanted to remind you of that, setting and keeping healthy boundaries. But the backdrop of this work, though, is could we look at our lives and look at ourselves with some gentleness and some kindness? And so, bringing the notion of non-harm, like could we look at boundaries in a way that doesn't create harm for ourselves or for others or for nature? Like, could we look at that? And that would be the one ask that I have, is that and I'm going to offer it anyway, but is that we look at this as a way to create less harm in ourselves and in the world. And that just excites the heck out of me. Like, that we can do this, that we can metabolize stuff so that we're not creating more harm. Like, how cool is that? So I know these topics, like they were chosen on purpose, because I realized that if we were to start to commune with them and understand in these spaces what's happening, and to make meaning that was less harmful or painful, then there is more joy, there is more richness, there's more creativity, and there's more possibility. I've seen it. I believe it. Yeah. So through it. So I'm Dale. That's me. This is how this all started.